Welcome back. I'm Johnny Kane, and you are listening to Open Mic here on WJR. You know, we've been talking about the NBA playoffs and how the Pistons are doing something that we haven't witnessed in 6 years, and that is playing this deep into the postseason. And if you ask anybody involved in pro basketball, they'll tell you that the playoffs are different, and they are. It's on another level. And someone who we witnessed go to another level is Lauren Jbara. Not long ago, Lauren was the in-arena host at Little Caesars Arena. And now she's covering the NBA, she's covering the NHL, Major League Baseball, and everything in between for TNT. Lauren has a contagious energy, really a solid reporter, and her ascent to the top of her field in broadcasting is really incredible. She works as hard as anybody that I know in the business. And she took some time in between games to sit down with Sportscaster.com's Lyric Sloan, another rising young voice who hopes to one day break through in this industry. Lyric, a student at Michigan State, interviewing Michigan grad Lauren Jbara.
So right now you're in the middle of the NBA playoffs this year for TNT. What's it like covering such an intense and exciting part of the season?
Yeah, I think the coolest part, especially about the first round, is we don't know where we're going next. Like I just found out today the next city that I'm going to for game 6, which is crazy. But traveling around to all of these different arenas and being able to see all of the different energies that these different crowds, different teams, different cities bring, that's been the most amazing part. The difficult part is covering a game from one series and then a game from another series and trying to stay up on all of the different storylines because you want to tell the players' stories and the team stories and the series story in general, and you want to do it with justice. So being able to keep up, I think that's the hardest part, but it's been such a dream to be able to bop around to all of these different cities and be able to tell the stories of these teams, these players, and these series and bring that through the TV to all the fans that are watching.
So I was doing research on you. Yesterday you posted an interview with Jason Tatum, who plays for the Celtics, and you just make
Yes.
your interviews so natural and so personal. And I can really feel that you are Lauren Jbara. You're not pretending to be anyone. You're not a robot, just getting the story how it is. I think that makes you so different from other reporters is that you're just being yourself and you make it so fun. Did you take time for that to develop or has it always come naturally to you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. That means a ton because I feel like it's so important in this industry. Like, we're just having fun like everyone else. Our job is to tell the stories, but it doesn't need to be so serious all the time. We're talking about sports, which is such an incredible, fun community, building thing. And I just want to be able to bring that through the screen. So I appreciate that you said that. I think it took a little while for that to come. Not necessarily just like the free flow to come, but for me to feel comfortable being 100% myself on camera. What I found over the years, like I remember I take it back to when I was at University of Michigan. The first time I was ever on camera, they threw it to me and I forgot my name. I mean, I was looking at the camera and I was like, uh, I was starstruck by the camera. And so that just takes a little while to develop from being like fully scripted and knowing what you want to say and feeling like you need to hit every single word of what you're writing out to just knowing the game, knowing the flow of the game, knowing how to conduct an interview, but also just try to get the players to open up. Because I feel a lot of the times I'm not with a specific team, I'm with a network. So you're going into all of these different situations and scenarios and not having super close relationships to a lot of these players. So you have to earn the trust immediately. And I feel like the best way to do that is just to make them feel comfortable that you're not going to throw them a curveball question or like really try to throw them off in any way. You're just asking about the game of basketball, which is something that they're so passionate about because that's what they do for a living. And I think that that's the most important part. And then it also gets them to open up more. And that's our job, is to be a vessel between the players and the fans, right? To get the answers from the players, the stories from the players, and get that to the fans. And so I think, yes, it took a little while to build, but once you feel comfortable with yourself, you feel comfortable on camera, you kind of know how to just like watch the flow of the game and then also read the players. Some players are going to be shorter with their answers, some are going to be longer, but it's trying to get their personalities out in those interviews. And so I appreciate you saying that.
So do you come with like notes previously at the game or like how do you prepare for each game since,
Oh, yeah.
you're never guaranteed anything?
Oh yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of preparation that actually, doesn't show because being a reporter, you only get in for a few hits every quarter, like 30 or 40 seconds, but there's a lot of work that goes in behind that. I'm going to all of the shoot arounds, all of the practices, reading a ton of articles, talking to different beat writers, different reporters for each team, just trying to find out the storylines and what I think would be interesting for the fans to know about these players. So say tonight, someone like a Jamal Murray who missed 6 of the last 8 games of the regular season, I asked him the other day, how important was it for you to get back to the final 2 regular season games to be able to get a few minutes in before playing these heavy playoff minutes? And he gave me a really good answer about that. And I think stuff like that's really interesting, for fans to know, but it's a lot of like behind the scenes research. And then also you get to talk to both coaches for 10 minutes before each game. So it's kind of picking their brains on, especially at a series like this, what adjustments they want to make from game 4 to game 5, game 2 to game 3, what they're looking for their team on the offensive and defensive side. And then I take that and use that in questions after the first quarter interview, after the third quarter interview. And then also post game, I use that, like say, I interviewed Jamal Murray later and I'm like, hey, you told me how important it is. You played 42 minutes, put up this much, and use that for my question. You can use quotes that you got from those moments in your post-game question. Another one, I talked to Aaron Gordon about the incredible first ever putback dunk for a game winner in the playoffs that he had. And I, got him to open up a little bit. I said, did you think Nikola was passing to you, or did you think that was a shot that was going in? And he gave me a really fun answer. So if I interview him or if I interview Nikola Jokic after the game, I can use that answer or use that quote from, Aaron Gordon on what he saw in that last minute and how they carried the momentum, stuff like that. So it's just like little nuances that you kind of pick up and learn to use over the years.
So throughout all this, obviously you're with TNT and you don't really know where you're going next until you find out where you're going next. What do you think has been the most insane moment so far throughout the playoffs?
This year in the playoffs, I can take you back to, I did MLB postseason this year, and we covered the American League Championship Series. It was the Yankees against the Guardians. And one of the coolest moments was being able to stand up on the stage with the Yankees and hand out the ALCS pennant. And I was interviewing Giancarlo Stanton, who was the ALCS MVP. And that was incredible, talking to Aaron Judge. It was a pinch me moment for myself for sure. And I'm like, what is going on? I cannot believe this is my life. I cannot believe this is where my career has gone. And I just felt so grateful and so thankful in that moment. So that was like the craziest playoff moment, I would say, for me in my career. This year, the craziest playoff moment that we've seen is definitely that game 4 winner that I was just talking about. Nikola Jokic threw up a 3-point Hail Mary shot and it was way off, but Aaron Gordon was able to get the rebound and get the first ever playoff postseason putback dunk, which is really crazy when you think about it. And it was literally in the nick of time. It was a highlight reel moment for not only the Denver Nuggets, but to also shift the series back into their momentum. So I think this year for the NBA playoffs, that's been the craziest moment so far.
So do you ever still get nervous? You've had, so much experience already, but do you still get nervous before games?
I do. It's weird, but I think that means that I still care, right? Like, I'm not so nervous that I'm shaking and, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess up. I'm more nervous because I want to do a good job telling the stories of the players and the teams. So it's more putting pressure on myself of wanting to be the best that I can be at my job so I can give the best product to the fans. But I'm not standing there like, oh my gosh, what if I say the wrong word or this or that? That used to be like that a lot. And I think that just comes with time and repetition of, having those experiences and kind of knowing what to expect. Because when you don't know what to expect, I feel like that's when I used to get the most nervous. But yeah, in terms of nerves, but I would also say it's like nerves mixed with excitement, because it's just the excitement of not knowing what that game's going to bring and knowing that you have to be on your toes the whole time. But it's the fun part of the job too. It's twofold. It's nervous, excited, but also very much fulfilling at the same time.
So walk me through like your routine, like for these playoff games. What do you do before? What do you do during the game? And what do you do after the game?
Yeah, so say the game tonight is at 8 p.m. I get there around 4:15, because I like to just decompress. We have a little like green room that we go to, and I always go early before play-by-play and analysts, especially here because I used to live in Denver. So I get to see a lot of the people that I worked with, and I want to just say hi to everyone and then have a moment to just chill before things get crazy. So I get there around 4:15. I'll eat a little snack, get my makeup touched up, finish my prep, and then after that, we have coaches interviews around 2 hours before the game. Both coaches come in for 10 minutes apiece. So we'll talk to Coach Ty Lue, then we'll talk to interim coach for the Denver Nuggets, David Adelman, and we get just, insights on what to expect for the game. I'll usually take a couple of those quotes and put those into different hits that I have set up for the game. And then also just like take notes on what they're looking for their team, and then defensively how they want to guard the other team. So I'll always take notes on that because I like to use that during in-game interviews. And then after that, I always go out to the court, see what that's going on. Sometimes I'll have to talk to players pregame. Like today, I'm going to talk to Norman Powell, Ivica Zubats before the game because they didn't have shoot around this morning. So I get those quotes before the game. I'll come in for a couple questions and, ask them what they're expecting, how they build from game 4, especially that fourth quarter, even though they lost, stuff like that, and use that for my in-game hits as well. And then it's almost game time. I know it feels like not that much, but it's almost game time. I'll come back, I'll eat like a little bit more dinner because it's hard to eat a full meal when you're just going. And then we get out there around 7:30 for an 8 o'clock tip. We go over different elements, different graphics that they have set up for us. And then we'll rehearse our open around 7:45. And then 8 o'clock, it's tip off and the game rolls. And in that time, I'm telling all of the stories of the game. I'm doing in-game interviews, talking to whatever coach is down at halftime. I'll go back to the locker room and do a walk and talk on the way back out, and usually use a hit at the beginning of the third quarter about what they want to adjust heading into that second half. And then post-game, I do a post-game interview with the winning player, the winning leading scoring player, usually, unless it's a crazy moment like a buzzer beater, then I'll get whoever had that game-winning shot. And then after that, it's time to decompress. I take off my heels, put on my flat shoes, and get in the car to go back to the hotel and lay in my bed and just like chill out for a second because you're on for like 4, 5, 6 straight hours. And so it's nice to just decompress.
Yeah, I cannot imagine being on your feet for that long. Not only just being on your feet, but you have to be completely engaged the whole game because you have to be ready for something to turn out the way nobody expected it to.
Exactly. And you might not like see all the behind the scenes work that goes into it, but there really is a lot. I try to be fully prepared. And I know a lot of my colleagues who do the same thing are always over preparing and overworking. And it's a good thing because you'd rather have more stuff than not enough stuff for the fans. And it's all just determined, like I can have 10 hits laid out for each team, but it's all determined by the flow of the game. James Harden's having a good game. I'll sneak in something about James Harden. Or Nikola Jokic is doing something incredible with his 3-point shot. I can talk about how he adjusted his 3-point shot in the offseason this year to make it a little bit more, quick. And his percentages have been up. So it's just different things that you kind of look for in the flow of the game.
So for students that would love to be in the position that you're in, what's some good advice that you can give to people that like literally dream of being in the position that you're in?
Yes, it's crazy because you always hear in this industry that there's like one path to be able to get there. And that is just not true at all. I look back at my career and everyone told me I had to go to a local station in the middle of nowhere in Texas or, a really small local station. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do it my own way. And I started getting internships in college and just met as many people as I could, said yes to as many opportunities as I could. And from that, you meet people and that leads to more opportunities. So I met somebody working for the G League Pistons team that ended up leading to me becoming the in-arena host for the Detroit Pistons. And then from that, I met people with the Red Wings and I was doing stuff for a country music radio station, 99.5 WYCD. I was teaching workout classes. I was a waitress. I was just trying to like make ends meet, but also make it in this industry. So if you're passionate enough about what you do, you're going to make it no matter what, because you're going to find the path that's right for you. And I think 3 of the biggest pieces of advice that I'd give is prepare, over prepare. Know what you're talking about because that leads to confidence. And when you're confident, you're going to do the best job that you could possibly do. 2, find what makes you you because there's only one of you in this industry. And I think my superpower is being able to just be myself on camera and getting people to open up, getting players to open up and not taking it too seriously. Like, yes, I'm very serious about my job and telling those stories, but I don't want it to seem like I'm serious. I want to just seem like we're sitting in a living room drinking a beer telling stories about the game. And I want people to feel that through the camera. And number 3, I think it's just saying yes to every opportunity when you get started, especially. After a while, you work so much and you get to the point where you can start saying no to things, which is where I've gotten to right now. And it's actually been incredible because at first when you say yes to everything, you're just like overworked and tired all the time, but it helps you grind and it helps you learn and it helps you grow and it helps you get out there in as many ways as possible. And I think that that's the most important thing is spreading your wings. And when you say yes to things, you're putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, which will end up making you more comfortable in the long run because you'll be more versatile and you'll have more experience doing a variety of things, which I think is so important in this industry because now it's like you can't specialize in just one thing. You got to be good at so many different things. And so saying yes at the beginning will help you grow in that way.
Yeah. And I definitely want to go back to how you said, not every path is just that one path in a small little town in Texas because, you were a neuroscience major.
I know. Isn't that crazy to think? Like, it's hard to also to know what you want to do. Like you're 18 years old, you go into college and it's like, hey, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? How are you supposed to decide that at 18 years old and you haven't even experienced things? So I went into college thinking I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. I am so glad that I didn't end up going through with it. And I ended up majoring in communications instead. But it's really crazy when you look back at it because, you can make your path whatever you want it to be. I know friends who, have majored in communications and now they're working in some sort of like business or tech or even something else like that. So it doesn't even just pertain to broadcasting, it's anything. I think in college, a lot of what you learn is how to become an adult and how to take different situations that they're teaching you in classes and turn them into real life events and real life stories. And, you learn so much about that and you learn so much about yourself in those 4 years. And you can kind of take it wherever you want after college.
Yeah, I can tell that you're so genuine and you definitely found your calling for sure. Yeah, and I have one more question for you.
Of course.
You're a woman in a male dominated field and obviously you're killing it, but how do you immerse yourself and get so well educated in all this ball knowledge? Do you ask your guy friends? Do you ask, what do you do to help yourself get really confident in your ability with men that have grown up since day one learning sports?
Yeah, I think it's good for me because I actually grew up in a family that was really sports centric. Like I had two brothers, my dad, my mom is really into sports. And so growing up playing a variety of different sports and also watching them constantly on television, like I feel like I kind of grew up in that. But when I came to the broadcasting side of things, it was just learning what I needed to specifically like study and know because there's so much information and so many things out there. And for me, it was as being a reporter, it's like, what do I need to hone in on and focus in on when it comes to telling stories for these games? And so I think first and foremost, it's just kind of like siphoning all of the information into like what's the most important thing to know. But on top of that, it's reading a ton, like constantly on ESPN, constantly reading different articles on The Athletic, etc., learning about all the different teams. I have alerts set up for like every single sport. And I think that's the most difficult part too is I do baseball, I do hockey, I do football, I do basketball, I do Unrivaled, I do golf. So it's trying to stay locked into every single one of those sports and know all the details of every single one of those sports. And obviously it vacillates. Like right now, I'm so in on NBA because that's what I'm doing. And then after that, I'll focus a little bit more on MLB and getting caught up on all of the nuances of what's going on in the league after the NBA playoffs are done. So being in a male dominated industry, I think honestly it's gotten so much better because people accept a lot of women in the sport now and they know that we know what we're talking about. But it's also never being afraid to ask questions because guys ask questions too. Like I'll ask my colleagues questions all the time. And I don't think there's ever a dumb question when it comes to things because what you don't know, and you want to get better at. And I think being curious is really important in this industry too, not being like, I know everything and I want to, make my mark because I'm a woman in a male dominated industry. But it's also knowing like, hey, I don't know everything and neither do the guys because the guys ask questions too. And so just knowing that we're all people trying to learn and get better at what we're doing. And I think having that mindset has helped me not feel intimidated, but more empowered in the broadcasting industry in general and being a woman in it too.
There have been so many compelling storylines this NBA postseason. Lauren and Lyric continue their discussion. And if you'd like to listen to the interview in its entirety, go to sportscaster.com. We'll have it there for you. But some really good stuff, really good information. Our thanks to Lauren Jbara and also to Lyric Sloan. When we return, playing pro basketball can take you to a variety of places. And our next guest has stamped his passport more times than anybody I know. A sit down with former Wolverine Jordan Morgan after a short break.